all-black peacetime U.S. Army regiments formed in 1866. On July 27, 1917, soldiers of the 3rd Battalion, 24th Infantry Regiment, an all-black unit known as the Buffalo Soldiers, arrived in Houston to guard the construction of the Camp Logan training base. The city, still ruled by Jim Crow laws, proved hostile. Tensions rose and finally boiled over on August 23, 1917. Soldiers clashed with white police and civilians, leaving more than a dozen dead. Teresa Nowakowski, daily correspondent, wrote, "Now, more than a century later, the Army has overturned these convictions." The news was first reported by the Houston Chronicle's Amber Elliott and Sid Christensen. After a thorough review, the Army Board for Correction of Military Records has found that these soldiers were wrongly treated because of their race and were not given fair trials, says Christine Wormuth, the Army's secretary, in a statement. By setting aside their convictions and granting honorable discharges, the Army is acknowledging past mistakes and setting the record straight. The 3 courts-martial of the Houston incident. Each trial was named for its lead defendant. 1. United States versus Nesbitt et al., 1-30, November 17. Tried 63 soldiers on charges of mutiny, willful disobedience of orders, murder, and assault. Convicted 58 men, acquitted 5. Sentenced 13 men to death by hanging. 45 were sentenced to incarceration. All 13 condemned men were executed on the 11th of December, 1917 at 7:17 a.m., within 12 hours of Major General Ruckman approving the findings and sentence based on the recommendation of his staff judge advocate, Colonel Dunn, without the sentences being referred for outside review or opportunity to seek clemency. 2. United States versus Washington et al., December 17th to 21st, 1917. Tried 15 soldiers of the Camp Logan Guard detail on charges of murder and violations of the general article. Convicted all 15 men. Sentenced 5 men to death by hanging, the others to terms of incarceration. The issuance of General Orders number 163 and number 7 on January 17, 1918, required all sentences to be referred to the U.S. Army TJAG for legal review. Death sentences now had to be approved by the President. 5 men were executed on September 11, 1918. 3. United States versus Tillman et al., February 18th to March 27th, 1918. Tried 40 soldiers on charges of mutiny, willful disobedience, murder, and assault. Convicted 37 men, acquitted 2. Charges against 1 soldier were dismissed because of insanity. Sentenced 11 men to death. 10 of those death sentences were commuted to life imprisonment by President Wilson. 1 man was executed on September 24th, 1918. 3-24. Infantry soldiers executed December 11th, 1917. U.S. v. Nesbitt. Sergeant William C. Nesbitt, Corporal Larnon J. Brown. Brown's body was later returned to his family for final burial. Corporal James Wheatley. Corporal Jesse Moore, Ball. Corporal Charles W. Baltimore. Private First Class William Breckenridge. Private First Class Thomas C. Hawkins. Private First Class Carlos Snodgrass. Private Ira B. Davis. Private James Divins. Private Frank Johnson. Private Risley W. Young. Private Pat McWhorter. March 24th. Infantry soldiers executed September 11th, 1918. U.S. v. Washington. Private Babe Collier. Private Thomas McDonald. Private James Robinson, Private Joseph Smith. Smith's body was later returned to his family for final burial. Private Albert D. Wright, March 24th, infantry soldier executed, September 24th, 1918, U.S. v. Tillman. Private First Class William D. Boone, Corporal Charles Baltimore in uniform, sometime before the troubles in Houston. He was sentenced to death in the first court-martial, U.S. versus Nesbitt. Corporal Jesse Moore. Based on his youthfulness in this image, this photo was probably taken during his first enlistment, when he served as a private under his real name, Jesse Ball. He was sentenced to death in the first court-martial, U.S. versus Nesbitt. Photo courtesy of Angela Holder. Private First Class Thomas C. Hawkins served with the 24th Infantry in the Philippines before he was posted to Houston in the summer of 1917. He was sentenced to death in the first court-martial, U.S. versus Nesbitt. Image courtesy of Jason Holt, Esquire. Sergeant William Nesbitt was the ranking non-commissioned officer and lead defendant among the 63 soldiers tried in the court-martial. He was sentenced to death in that trial.